There's a moment every man faces when the woman he wants pulls back, questions his worth, or throws subtle jabs wrapped in flirtation. Most men panic. They over-explain, over-text, over-apologize, desperate to regain her attention. But what they don't realize is that every word spoken in desperation lowers their value in her eyes. What truly grips a woman, what truly seduces her, is not a perfectly crafted sentence, a clever reply, or an emotional plea. It's the silence, the stillness, the decision to walk away without drama, without a performance, just calm, composed withdrawal. This act alone triggers something primal in her, because when a man walks away without needing closure, without begging for her affection, he flips the entire script. Suddenly, she's the one questioning herself, not him. She replays every moment, wondering why he didn't fight, why he didn't explain, why he didn't try harder. That vacuum you leave behind? It echoes louder than any speech you could have given. This is not about playing games. It's about self-respect. And self-respect is magnetic. It's rare. And in a world full of men who chase, the one who walks away stands out. He's unforgettable, not because of what he said, but because of what he didn't. When you walk away, not in anger, not in bitterness, but in grounded confidence, you force her to see you differently. You are no longer the man trying to prove himself. You become the mystery she can't solve, the presence she can't shake. Most men think they need to justify their absence, but a high-value man doesn't owe explanations for choosing his peace. His silence speaks volumes. It says, "I know who I am. I don't need your validation." That kind of energy is rare and irresistible. She starts to remember your steadiness, your calm, your ability to remain unmoved. She wonders what other woman has your attention now. She questions whether she misjudged your depth. And in those quiet moments, the power dynamic shifts. It's no longer about what you can do to keep her. It becomes about what she's willing to do to get you back. Walking away isn't about punishment. It's about preserving your energy. It's about refusing to beg for crumbs when you bring the whole table. Most women don't meet men who can walk away without turning it into a performance. When you do, you burn yourself into her memory, not with words, but with absence. And it's that absence that pulls harder than any chase ever could. The seduction isn't in the departure, it's in the grace with which you leave. When you walk away without drama, without needing to be right, you show her you're not emotionally entangled. And that shakes her, because most men argue, explain, plead. But you choose peace over control, detachment over desperation, and that's magnetic. It makes her doubt everything she assumed about you. She expected a reaction. She got stillness. She expected you to fight for attention. You disappeared with dignity. Now, she replays the last moment you spoke. She analyzes your silence like it's a message, hoping to decode it. And while she does, something shifts inside her. Respect. Real, visceral respect. Not because you demanded it, but because you embodied it. This is what Stoic seduction looks like. It's not about what you say. It's about what you choose not to say. Not because you're weak, but because your self-worth speaks louder than any defense ever could. You're not teaching her a lesson. You're just refusing to abandon yourself in order to be understood. And that refusal? It's unforgettable. Walking away doesn't mean giving up. It means elevating. It's the moment you stop negotiating your value and start enforcing it with silence. You're not punishing her. You're preserving you. And that preservation is deeply attractive. It shows her that you're not afraid to be alone. You're not seeking closure because your peace isn't dependent on external validation. That makes her curious. Why didn't he explain? Why didn't he try harder? Why did his silence feel louder than my words? You've triggered a part of her psychology that's rarely touched, the part that's drawn to what she can't fully understand. You didn't give her the satisfaction of a dramatic goodbye. You gave her something far more haunting, space. And in that space, her mind spirals. Not because you manipulated her, but because you respected yourself enough to let go without begging to be seen. That's the moment she starts seeing you differently, not as a man who needs her approval, but as one who could walk through fire without flinching and not look back. That quiet exit, it lingers, longer than any sweet words or grand gestures ever could, because it wasn't crafted to impress. It was born from clarity. You knew what you offered. You knew what you stood for. And when that wasn't honored, you left. No tantrum, no guilt trip, just presence. Then absence. And absence is a powerful mirror. It forces her to confront the vacuum your energy used to fill. It makes her question her own value judgment. Did she mistake calm for indifference? Did she confuse boundaries with arrogance? Did she push away something rare because she expected drama? The longer she sits with those thoughts, the more your silence becomes the story. And stories stick. That's what most men miss. They think walking away is passive, but it's not. It's intentional. It's a message that echoes beyond the moment. It's you saying, I won't fight to prove I'm worthy. I'll just walk and let your own mind do the work I never could. She replays every interaction in her head, not because of what you said, but because of what you didn't. That dinner conversation where you went silent instead of defending yourself. That moment when you smiled, nodded, and walked away while she expected you to beg for clarity. That final look, the one that said everything words couldn't. It becomes a loop in her mind, a haunting one. Because it's not rejection that cuts deepest, it's neutrality. When you're unaffected, you deny her the emotional charge that so many men give away freely. And now, she's hooked, not to you, but to the puzzle of you, to the emotional riddle you left behind. She starts watching your stories, liking old photos, accidentally texting you something random. But it's not just curiosity, it's hunger. Hunger to understand why you walked away so clean. Hunger to feel that magnetic pull again, even if it's just for a moment. But here's the twist. Your power doesn't come from returning. It comes from staying gone. Because every step she takes toward you now isn't about you chasing. It's about her realizing you were the one who held the real gravity all along. Most men believe seduction is about charm, clever words, or grand gestures. But the most potent seduction lives in restraint, in your absence, in the silence you leave behind. It's not about being rude or cruel. It's about refusing to dilute your presence just to soothe someone else's discomfort. A high-value man doesn't chase reassurance. He doesn't argue his worth. He embodies it. And when he walks away, he does it with dignity, not spite. That's what she feels most. Your absence isn't a void. It's a mirror. It reflects everything she overlooked, every moment she took for granted, every signal she misread. Now, her mind starts rewriting the story. Was he always this calm? Did I push him away? Why didn't he fight for me like the others? And that's where the power flips. You're no longer the one trying to earn her affection. You've become the one she's trying to understand. And in that shift, your value multiplies. Not because you manipulated her, but because you honored yourself more than you craved her attention. The truth is, when you walk away, not out of anger, but from clarity, you stop being part of her emotional clutter and become her internal conflict. You become the calm she didn't value until it vanished. And here's the twist. You didn't leave to punish her. You didn't walk away to win her back. You walked away because your peace was worth more than confusion, more than half-love, more than the illusion of connection. That level of self-respect is magnetic. It's rare. And anything rare is irresistible. She may talk to her friends, trying to decode what happened. She might post online, trying to get your attention. But deep down, she's not trying to get you back. She's trying to find the version of herself who felt powerful before you walked. Because now she feels your absence more than she ever felt your presence. Not because you were loud, but because you were whole. And wholeness lingers. It echoes in silence. It haunts empty rooms. And what haunts her the most is not that you left, but that you didn't look back, that you didn't explain, that you didn't give her the closure she was expecting. Because closure is control. And when you don't give it, you reclaim the frame. You break the cycle where she says something cruel, you defend, she withdraws, you chase. Instead, your silence becomes the mirror, and what she sees in it forces her to confront herself. Maybe for the first time. She replays every conversation, every moment she pushed your boundaries, every test she thought you'd fail. But you didn't fail. You exited the game. And that changes everything. Because now, you're not the guy trying to prove your worth. You're the man she has to rise up to deserve. Not through begging, but through growth. And that's the paradox. The less you try to win her, the more she has to earn you. She might not show it at first. She may post as if she's unbothered, act like she's moved on, even date someone else. But behind the mask is a mind racing with questions. Why didn't he fight for me? Why didn't he try to fix it? Why didn't he break like the others? And the answer terrifies her. Because it means you were never dependent. You were present, but not needy. You loved, but you weren't bound. You cared, but not at the cost of your dignity. And that kind of man doesn't come around often. He doesn't explain his worth. He walks in it. And when he walks away, the echo of his presence lingers longer than any sweet words could. Because words can be forgotten. But the feeling of being around a grounded, self-respecting man, that stays. That's the paradox most women don't realize until it's too late. The man who leaves calmly, without insult or plea, without drama or closure seeking, he becomes the one they can't stop thinking about. Why? Because he didn't just walk away from her. He walked toward himself. He didn't slam the door. He let it close with silence. And that silence screams. It screams of strength, of boundaries, of value. She's left not with arguments to replay, but with her own thoughts. Not your begging voice, but her own doubts. And that's the moment the chase flips. That's when she starts remembering the things she once overlooked. The stability, the calm, the presence. The fact that you didn't need her to complete you. And that scares her. Because now, she needs your energy to feel whole. She checks your stories. She scrolls through old messages, not to reconnect, but to feel something, anything, that brings her back to the man who left with dignity. Because your silence isn't passive. It's a mirror. It reflects everything she projected onto you. Her doubts, her ego, her unresolved wounds. And as the mirror stays still, she's forced to look longer, deeper, and eventually, inward. That's when the regret sets in. Not for what she did, but for what she lost. She realizes you were never trying to impress her. You were simply being you. And that version of you, the one who didn't need to fight for validation, is more attractive than anything you could have said. That man haunts her in quiet moments, in the pauses, in the silence between messages that no longer come. And here's the paradox. The less you try to explain yourself, the more she craves your clarity. The less you try to convince her of your worth, the more valuable you become in her mind. Why? Because silence from a man who knows his worth is not absence. It's presence amplified. It echoes in the spaces where desperation once lived. It turns ordinary goodbyes into unforgettable closures. She might go on dates, post selfies, or pretend she's unfazed. But deep down, she's comparing. Every new man to the one who walked away, not in anger, not in pain, but in power. And it's that calm power that replays in her head. Not because you said something brilliant, but because you said nothing at all. and still changed everything. Walking away isn't about punishing her, it's about protecting your peace. It's not about playing hard to get, it's about being hard to forget. Because when a man walks away with grace, he becomes a chapter she rereads in silence. A reminder that not every man begs to be understood. Some simply understand themselves too deeply to argue for validation. And that understanding, that quiet strength, it lingers. Long after the texts fade, long after the voice disappears. What remains is the energy you left behind, unbothered, unfazed, unforgettable. That's the kind of presence that seduces without effort, that speaks louder than 1,000 declarations of love. And here's the final truth. A man who can walk away is a man who doesn't need to prove his worth, because his worth is already proven in how he values himself. When you leave not out of anger, but from calm certainty, you reveal a strength she didn't expect. It shakes her. It breaks the frame she had of you. Suddenly, you're not a page in her story. You're the entire plot twist. That moment of silence you leave behind becomes deafening. It forces her to reflect, to question, to feel the absence of something rare. And in a world full of noise, the man who walks away in silence becomes the loudest echo in her memory. That's why walking away isn't just seductive, it's transformational.